Okay, the next one is from HKGR. Subject today's fans slut shaming the women in wrestling of your generation. I've noticed a lot of fans ridiculing the way previous divas dressed and acted and wrestled, negatively comparing them to those in today's WWE. What's wrong with hot women looking hot? Stacy Keibler might have not been a great wrestler, but she was must-see TV, which is more than I can say about any of the current female wrestlers. I'm not watching the Women's Revolution for the same reason I don't watch the WNBA. Biology dictates there are things that men can do in the ring that these women are physically incapable of. It is an inferior product. Anyone denial about this should look at what often happens when a mediocre trans athlete starts competing against women. Total domination. P.S. F Notre Dame football. F their delusional, cultish fans. F the Irish, except Hughesy.
Wait, what?
F the Irish, except Hughesy.
No, including him, all right?
Oh. F Lou Holtz, and most of all, F Pat Simon Diamond Kenny for stupidly complaining to NBC how they're not showing the proper respect to the, quote, most iconic brand, unquote, in college football.
Wait. Does this guy tweet something to NBC?
He's always complaining that, like, you know, the
No, but he must have tweeted something. But didn't the guy just say that he complained to NBC?
No, he's F Pat Kenny for complaining to NBC.
Right. So he must have put a tweet up to NBC. We're not putting that. Right. They don't come out on TV enough. All right.
But shout out to J-Dog and his creative control brethren Hughesy, who was made a full member of the NWO by Eazy-E 1 year ago. In honor of this momentous occasion, maybe Conan will go on his fellow NWO members' podcast and list his top 5 favorite Prince songs. Where I Come From, For Life Means Something. Well, this guy decided to talk about what we've already talked about before. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of guys don't like the women's wrestling. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you say that out loud, you're a misogynist or you're a fucking chauvinist.
No, I don't know. Here's the thing. It's misogynist to place the woman in a special category. To me, if you want inclusivity, then all the criticism, everything about women's wrestling gets treated the same way as against men's wrestling. Meaning, like, if the match sucks, it sucks, and I'm allowed to say it sucks.
Right.
But there's this thing, like, if it's like women's wrestling wants inclusivity without the inclusion of fair
criticism. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
We want to be everything just like you paid the same. We want to be. That's cool, bro. I'm a humongous fan of women's. If you're good, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, whatever you are. You know, what nationality, what gender, what religion. None of that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Talent is talent. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to be subjected to the same criticisms as everybody else, then don't complain.
Here's the thing, too. If you're a women's wrestler, okay, and you're getting a mid-card pop, okay, like the other mid-card wrestlers, okay, and you're not getting the main event pop like the main event wrestlers are, then don't think just because, you know what I'm saying? It's like every performer in professional wrestling, we usually judge them, at least the promoters do, by fan response and ticket sales. If women score well in those metrics, then fine. We'll credit you for that, but if they're not, you can sit there and say, well, you must be doing something wrong, specifically for your character or something. If you're not, if either your wrestling's not good or you're just not getting the fans. So it's like, and that's the thing. I think there's this thing saying, like, people think that, like, if there's a women's wrestler that's, like, getting the biggest pop on the show, I don't think any promoter would try to would look at that character and say, like, okay, hey, I'm gonna take her down a notch. No, you just try to, like, you keep pushing the character, you keep pushing the stuff and all that, And what happens is the problem with the women's wrestlers, okay, is that when you have a really good women's wrestler and she has to program with the other wrestlers and stuff and some of the wrestlers she's programming with aren't near as good as she is. And what happens is they go out there and their match suffers. And what happens is your performance gets critiqued unfairly sometimes because you're wrestling against, what I'm saying? Bro, look at Tessa Blanchard. Bro, nobody's going to take. Tell me this. Would you agree that Tessa Blanchard's best matches that she's had have been her intergender matches?
Probably.
Yeah, the match with Sammy got rave reviews.
Bro, let me
tell you all you really need to know.
I'm going to tell you something even more. What I almost always do when I want a girl to really look good is I usually put it in with another guy, and I'm going to tell you why. Because most women aren't strong enough, or they haven't been trained right how to catch another girl when she does a dive from the outside, or when they have to base them. If you've ever picked up a woman, they're very light. Their bone density isn't like a man. So when other guys are basing him, they base him way better, and the woman even goes with a lot of confidence. Because a lot of times I'll tell a girl, why didn't you do that dive? And she goes, oh, I'm afraid she's not going to catch me. They never say that when I say I'm going to put a guy in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you, one of the biggest secrets to Lucha Underground, which people didn't notice, it wasn't so much that Sexy Star was that good or any of the girls were that good at that time, was because the guys were so great and they made them look better than they really were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Once Taya came in, she was already seasoned, and she was the first girl to me that really could bring it. But, you know, especially in Sexy Star's case, she was definitely helped by the great basing of the other guys.
Yeah.
Didn't it say something either that the women from our era were slut shamed because of how they dressed or something like that? Didn't I hear that?
There's people like they're talking about, you know, like Sable and all these girls, like, you know, oh, that's to me, you know how it is. The typical our generation was horrible. That's the typical stuff. But yet, when you look at Impact, every time they did the Scarlet Smoke show or whatever it was called, more people were talking about that than any other female on the show. Yeah, exactly. And that's something you just can't ignore.
Which doesn't mean everything has to be sexy, but you can have some sex appeal, and you can have some great women's wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
And if it's drawing and getting good responses, it's obviously a good part of your show. So what actually, it's detrimental to the business to try to suppress things like that because you don't think it makes women look good. And well, I'm sorry, I don't care if it doesn't make women look good or whatever. The character she's portraying is getting overdoing that. So she's going to continue to do that. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of women have made a great fortune off of sex appeal. So, you know, they're being paid.
And that's the one thing that women in this business have over the guys.
Right.
Like, you can draw on sex appeal. We can't.
Right.
You know, it was just like a bunch of guys.
You can to women, and the guys are like guys.
But
still,
your target market is mainly males. So that's like, you know, what are you trying to do? Draw gay guys? You know what we're trying to do? So.
Bro, some of our best ratings, let me just say this last thing. Some of our best ratings this year in Mexico were because of women on the show. Okay, that was number one. And number two, I don't need to tell you, Scarlett Bordeaux had the most viewed video of AAA of the year. I think it's up to 34 million. Think about that. Right?
It's like a tenth of the United States of America, 10% of the country. That's how many people that is. And there's 300 million people in America. 34 million were watching that thing that broadcast. That's unfathomable if you think about it, right?
Her debut is at 34 million. And don't forget one other thing just on that is, you know, who drew the highest ratings for Impact, of course, regularly was Velvet and Angelina Love and that group, whatever they were called.